What do you at, foodies? Today we are making honey maple beans. Super tasty, high in protein. Let's get into it. Alright foodies, let's take half a red pepper and let's dice that up into small pieces. Being mindful to keep your fingers tucked in while you do this, you know, everyone wants to keep their fingers in the end. Peppers are all diced, let's put them on a plate and put them aside. Now let's grab a small onion and slice it into thin slices. Let's break that up and put it on the plate with the red pepper. Now let's move on to my favorite part, the bacon. Let's take 6 strips, stack them on top of each other, cut them down the middle, then chop them into cubes. Now if you want to make this dish vegan, you can omit the bacon here, and we can add some smoked flavor by adding in some smoked paprika later on. Now let's put that on a plate and place it aside. Now let's add a pan to medium heat. Let's place our bacon in the pan, along with a splash of water. The water is going to help render out the fat so the bacon cooks nice and evenly. Now we're going to cook this bacon until it's a nice golden color and forms a nice fond on the bottom of the pan. If you are making this vegan, you could just add oil to the pan and start cooking your vegetables right away. We're not going to add any oil because we're using the bacon fat for our oil. Now you can see, we have a lot of fat in the pan, and we're not going to eat all this fat, so we can go ahead and be very careful and scoop it out into a dish until we have about 2 tablespoons left. Please be careful when you do this. Now that we remove the fat, let's go ahead and add in our peppers and onions. Guys, if you could just smell this right now, it is so good. Now we're going to saute this for 5 minutes. Now let's go ahead and crack in some fresh pepper and about a teaspoon of paprika. This is where you can add smoked paprika if you're going to make this vegan to help give it that smoky flavor. If you notice on the bottom of the pan, it's got a nice dark golden color. That's the fond developing. Now we're going to add in 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar, and when we add that to the pan, it's going to help release that fond off the pan and bring those delicious concentrated flavors into our beans. Now that we added in 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar, we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. And let's give that a little mix. This literally smells like breakfast time when you're camping. I wish you guys could be here to smell this. But since you can't be here, make sure you guys give this recipe a try. And make sure you give us a thumbs up. You guys could also add in some cayenne here to give it a bit of a kick. To make these beans a little bit sweeter, we're going to have 50-50 of maple syrup and honey. So let's throw in 1/3 cup of honey, followed by 1/3 cup of Canadian maple syrup. And yes, it has to be Canadian maple syrup, because I'm Canadian, and that's how it goes. Now we're going to let that cook for about 2 to 3 minutes before adding 400 milliliters of the best quality of crushed tomatoes you can find. Let's mix in our crushed tomatoes, and then we're going to add 2 cans of navel beans. You can use any kind of beans you want here, and I'm just using navel beans for that classic style. Let's mix in our beans and cover this, and we'll let this simmer for about 10 to 15 minutes. Now if you've noticed, we haven't salted this yet, so let's go ahead and season to taste. But as you can clearly see, I forgot this step and started plating, and then I realized it, so let's put that back in and add some salt. There we go, perfectly seasoned. Now let's plate this up. Alright foodies, here we go. A nice big bowl of honey maple beans. Yeah, let's give these guys a try. That is really good. The sweet, the salty, the bacon. I was never a big fan of beans growing up, and this is definitely something. If my mom had to serve me, you hear this, Mom? If you had to serve me these beans, I would have been eating more beans when I was growing up. Make sure you give these beans a try. And if you like the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And until next time, Foodie out.